Hi Taurus, welcome to your April 2021 Astro Update. It's Raina here. So, as you know, April is the month when the sun goes into your sign, and I wouldn't be surprised if even those Taurians that have their birthdays in May, that this is one of your favorite months, as you know, because of the sun going into your sign. So happy birthday to all Taurians, but especially those who are born in April. There's a lot of Aries energy coming into the month. And then we get a whole cluster of planets in Taurus in that first house of the self. And that can really give the flavor of self-empowerment moving forward, like, having a new cycle in your life in different areas of life and that kind of thing. And then a full moon in the opposite sign, Scorpio, which can have some kind of consequences when it comes to committed partnerships. But I'll get to that later because it's happening towards the end of April. So as the month begins, we have, let's see what we have. We have the sun in Aries, and the 3rd Mercury goes into Aries, and your ruler, Venus, is also in Aries. So Aries is your 12th house, and the 12th house is the house ruled by Pisces and its ruler, Neptune, in the universal chart. It deals with solitude, so seclusion, contemplation. It's the hermit's house. It's the house of karma. It has like a spiritual connotation. So whether you're talking about past lives, about this life as it relates to spiritual studies and practices, that's what the 12th house is basically about. Also, on the more challenging side, it can be what do they call it? Defeating patterns that lead to self-sabotage and things like that. Addictions are connected to this house. This is the house of the dream state. So I'm talking about night dreams. So there can be prophetic dreams. When you have planets in the 12th house, your psychic activity may increase. So with Mercury in that sector on the 3rd, that can lead you to these kinds of intuitive hits where you just have ideas that you realize are psychic in nature, but also vague fears can be connected to this, like free-floating anxiety. And this is because the 12th house, because it has that karmic connection, and it's also what we call the unconscious mind, this is where a lot of fear begins. And I do think that a lot of phobias and things like that come from past lives. If you can't trace a certain fear that you have to this lifetime, it has to come from somewhere. And the thing about it is that it doesn't mean that you have to be anxious. It can simply mean that maybe you are learning about these tendencies. Even the 12th house can be about psychoanalysis, kind of like the 8th house. And on the 11th is that new moon, 22 degrees of Aries. So this is in the 12th house. It's not so much about moving forward in the classic sense. That will happen when the new moon is in your sign, in your first house. But this is about internal new beginnings. Also, I think this is actually a great time to envision what you want to bring forth in the coming year, because this is like the womb of creation. And so in the first house, you're talking about a whole new cycle. And it's like then you can just actively take action as opposed to passively taking action, whatever. You can take action in that direction because in the 12th house, it's more of your inner work that you're doing. But this can be great for initiating some kind of meditation program, or, hatha yoga is a form of meditation that is more active, but whatever, anything like that is really good for the new moon in this. I would say especially hatha yoga because it's going to be in Aries, and Aries is a very physical sign. On the 14th, there is Venus going into Taurus, into your sign, and you are ruled by Venus. So that's another thing about that. So that can be very good for attracting pleasant things to you, for looking good at this time, Taurus, feeling attractive. But if you think of the word attractive, we think of the word attraction, and, think about law of attraction. This idea that the things that we are trying to birth, we also have to bring towards us. It's very hard to go after something that's far away from you. So it's all about attracting it into your sphere of influence. And so Venus being the attractor can do just that. And just in general, feeling like life is harmonious in general. This is the first house, the beginning of a new cycle of Venus. On the 19th, we have two things going on. We have Mercury going into your sign, that first house being aligned with your speech, and the sun going into this area. And that can be good for well-being, for feeling more energetic. When the sun is in the 12th house, there can be fatigue. There can be a sense of dragging. I actually have a very big 12th house, and I have my rising sign a late degree of Taurus. So I know of what I speak. Even with this sun in Taurus, it's still going to be in my 12th house. So it's like, it can feel like you don't really have that pep until the sun has crossed over into your first house. However, you can still enjoy this season for what it is. So if you feel like resting, more than rest. If you feel like being alone more often, be alone. It's no big deal. But once you make your debut, and once the sun crosses over into the threshold of that first house, which, by the way, will be different depending on your degree of Taurus, it's not going to just naturally go along with the dates that I'm giving here, all of these transits. But then you might feel more like yourself. On the 23rd, Mars goes into Cancer. That's a friendly angle because it's a sextile. And another great thing about it is that it can really help you to feel like, this urge to write, if you are a writer, or to learn something new. Wait a second. I got like an alert on my phone. My partner called me, so that was that's why I had to cut out there. All right. So yeah, and the thing is with Mars going into Cancer in that third house, there can be issues with siblings. So watch out for any conflicts. Mars can bring conflicts with siblings. The third house in family is also cousins, especially if they are like your brothers and sisters, and you were raised with them, and you have that kind of familiarity where you could have some kind of a conflict with them. It's also the area of your neighbors, so watch out for neighborly feuds. But on the more positive level, it can be like a burning desire to communicate something, maybe to the public, or you have you're just really driven to write, or other forms of communication. Okay, that's weird. Oh, wow. I didn't realize I was at the end of the transits. On the 26th, we have a full moon at 7 degrees of Scorpio. So Scorpio is your opposite sign, and so the opposite house is the 7th house, and that's the house of committed partnership. A full moon here can bring some kind of a closure, ending to a relationship. Now, sometimes it can be the last straw if you have a shaky relationship. Sometimes there can be full moon secrets that are revealed. And if it happens to be about this other person that is your partner, or even I would say, like, if it's an ex, or if you're separated from a partner, that might be like the coup de grace that you're like, okay, I think he's cheating or she's cheating, and so I have separated. And then I find out the proof that that has happened, and then you're like, okay, I'm calling up the lawyer, or I'm moving my stuff out, whatever that means for you, because it's like now you get the full picture. Full moons can bring things to culmination. So if two people are in that stage of partnership that is more, I would say, maybe you're monogamous with one another, but you haven't gotten married or moved in with one another, that can indicate that you're going to take it to the next level, where you're going to commit in a formal ceremony, or, sign that document, legal document, or whatever. If for you it's a matter of just moving in with this person, and that means that you're together as a couple, and for you it's like the equivalent of marriage, then that's what it is. And I think the average Taurus person wants to get married. That's just my take on it. That you are not satisfied with the idea of just like living together, because Taurus rules the second house of earned income and possessions. Taurus is notorious, in the zodiac for being possessive. And if you have Venus in Taurus, forget about it. That's really going to add to that tendency. And so what do you do when you have a possession? You make sure that you have full ownership. And, so you put a ring on it, that kind of thing. Or you want to have a ring put on your finger because you feel that that is a symbol. Now, that's another thing, too, the tangibility factor. Taurus is an earth sign, so anything that can prove your ownership of that person, be it a ring or a piece of paper, that is going to be very appealing to you. Now, maybe that sounds a little bit, I don't know if insulting is the right word, but I don't mean it to be like that. I'm just saying that I think Taurus likes things that are easy to kind of grasp in a very tangible way. And if you're in this relationship with somebody, and even if you're like living together, it may seem almost too abstract, that you don't have this other part of it that is, recognized by the state, for instance, or something like that. So in any case, that may be a time when you or the other person proposes, and that might be a very happy time for you. Now, because this is at 7 degrees of Scorpio, if you're a later degree, especially if your rising sign is 8 to 29 degrees of Taurus, this is going to fall in your 6th house of work, and this could be a promotion at work, or walking off the job and being like, I'm done with it. Could be those two extremes. You may find out what your coworkers have been up to, if they've been gossiping about you, or maybe it'll blow up in their faces if they have been, and they'll be exposed for that. Okay, that's what I have for you, Taurus. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you'd like a private reading, please click on the link below for more information and to order. Have a great month. Take care. Bye.